Hello and welcome to Xbox On. Henry and Charley here with a super exciting Game Pass update just for you. And it's straight off the back of the news that as of September 15th, you'll be able to play titles in the Game Pass library on your Android device with an Ultimate membership. That's right, Game Pass on the go. So let's talk about some of those new additions, shall we?
Let's start with something scarily good. It is Man of Medan. This is the first game in the Dark Pictures Anthology of narrative horror games, where you switch between characters to guide a hugely branching storyline that changes based on your decisions. Changes that, this being a horror game and all, include every single character potentially dying, probably very messily as well. In Man of Medan, you'll follow a group of friends who go diving for sunken treasure. It's not as simple as just scooping up doubloons from the bottom of the sea though, because before you know it, there's pirates, ghost ships, and even more to worry about. Which, to be fair, just sounds like a standard Sea of Thieves session, you know? You can play on your own with the lights off and curtains drawn, but a good scare can be even more fun with friends. So there's two multiplayer modes to choose from. An online mode where two of you can experience the story side by side, or a pass the controller couch co-op mode for 4 players. With the next Dark Pictures game bringing a brand new story and a whole new cast of characters to save this Halloween, this is a perfect opportunity to steal your nerves. Who says summer can't be spooky?
There are plenty of LEGO games out there, and they're great, but none of them recreate the feeling of sitting cross-legged on your bedroom floor with a box of assorted bits as beautifully as Trailmakers does. This is a racing game where before you can hit the track, you have to build what you're racing in first. Trailmakers gives you a load of modular pieces that snap together and basically says, well, get on with it. Cars, tractors, bikes, planes, helicopters, hovercraft, a DIY X-Wing, a homemade warthog. Basically, if you can imagine it, you can build it. Not that it'll necessarily work when you try to drive it, of course, but hey, you crash, you rebuild, you try again, it's all part of the fun. There are 2 massive sandbox maps to explore, filled with stunt jumps, loop-de-loops, and other obstacles to test your creation to the limit. Or you can jump into Xbox Live multiplayer with up to 3 friends, working together, competing in races, or just blasting each other's creations back into their component parts. It's just like being a kid again, except with an infinite box of bits to mess around with.
Also dropping today, we've got a couple of dungeon crawling action RPGs. So if Minecraft Dungeons has awoken something in you, these are the perfect place to head next. It Looks Below comes from one of the original creators behind Diablo, putting a new spin on the genre that, funnily enough, takes a lot of inspiration from Minecraft. You'll be crafting your own weapons and tools and chipping away at the totally destructible side-on levels to mine underground and find the best loot and biggest enemies. Basically, dig in your own dungeon as you go. And if you're playing in survival mode, you'll also need to worry about hunger and tiredness, and making yourself a tidy little shelter to make it through the night. And that's just one of 3 modes. There's also creative, which keeps the monsters down below the ground so you can just explore at your own pace, and descent, which drops the survival aspects to focus on pure monster bashing action. And with hardcore options for both survival and descent, you could turn the game into a one death and you're done roguelike. So basically, you get to craft your own game too, just the way you like it.
There's also Darksiders Genesis, which takes the long-running action series and puts it in a new perspective. A top-down one, specifically. In Genesis, you're headed down the oldest dungeon of them all, Hell itself. But at least you can bring a friend with you. The game features 2 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, War and Strife. Playing solo, you're free to switch between their very different but complementary playstyles, or you and a friend can pick one each for a bit of co-op over Xbox Live or in split screen. If this is your first trip to the Darksiders universe and Genesis leaves you intrigued, remember that Darksiders 3 is also on Game Pass, letting you play as Fury, another of the Horsemen who is actually a horse woman. It's good to have options.
We're staying under the crust of the earth for our next game, Undermine, an action-adventure roguelike with its fair share of dungeon crawling. The game's been toiling in the early access mines for nearly a year now, but is finally ready for a full launch on Xbox and is coming to Xbox Game Pass right on day 1. That means you get to benefit from the spoils of 5 major content updates, expanding the selection of levels, loot, and bosses that await you down in the darkness. So grab your pickaxe and let's get exploring.
We've got a blast from the not-so-distant past with Xeno Crisis. This is a version of the Mega Drive game from 2019. No, you didn't hear that wrong. Xeno Crisis is the result of some truly dedicated devs who decided to make a brand new game for the ancient console just last year. But you don't need to track one down and blow off the dust because it's made its way to Xbox Game Pass for console and PC. The game's as retro as you might expect given its origins, a love letter to arcade twin-stick shooters just like Smash TV and Contra, with authentic 16-bit pixel art and a chiptune soundtrack that will transport you back in time. So grab a friend and you can play together, strictly couch co-op, obviously.
And coming to Game Pass for console and PC on the 13th is a game that actually did come out in the 90s and basically defined the era in the process. Final Fantasy VII is one of the most beloved games of all time, and if you missed it the first time round or just want to revisit an old favourite, then this is your chance with a HD remaster that restores the original graphics and gameplay, but with optional tweaks that let you play at triple speed or turn off random encounters to speed through the story. We won't attempt a recap of the adventures of Cloud, Aeris and the rest, because you either already know it by heart or don't want any of the surprises spoiling, but we will say this. If you want to experience the JRPG that changed what JRPGs look like, you've just got one more week to wait. So that's it for this week's Xbox Game Pass update. Let us know in the comments which ones you're going to be playing, and be sure to check out some more of our content by clicking on one of the wonderful videos right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video, everyone. Bye-bye!